hold up a hand. Let's cross each other. I would like for you to clap. Ready? Let's try it again. No. Let's try it again. Go. This is a story about faith. It's a story about the faith of a teenager. The task of adolescence that God put inside each and every one of us in the years before we take on all of our adult responsibilities is to figure out who we are. To figure out what our relationship with God is, what our relationship with each other is. To figure out who we are when we look in the mirror. Do we even like that person? These are all the big questions of adolescence. Jesus is trying to figure out the questions of adolescence. And where does Jesus go to get the answers? He goes to the temple. There was a moment in Jesus' search for who He is, that He got it. God's my Father. There's the task of adolescence. To understand who your relationship with God is and what it's all about. But not all of us are going to have an experience like Jesus's. Jesus simply reminds us that the task of adolescence is to figure out what's going on in our relationship with God, with each other, with ourselves. He just dumps it on us in this passage. I am not ashamed. Wouldn't that be cool? To be able to look at yourself in the mirror and just think, I'm not ashamed. I like what I see. I'm at home with it. Not to be nervous when you talk to others, not to be nervous when you're alone, not to be nervous when someone calls on you in class. Be at home with yourself. It says, I am not ashamed of the gospel. The gospel, what you pour your life into, defines you. The passage says everybody knows there's a God. We're without an excuse. It's evident in creation. Nobody can say, I don't know. We can say, I'm lying to myself, but we can't say, I don't know. And we can't say there are people who've never heard. Well, not according to the Bible. We ask ourselves questions, like Jesus in the temple asking good questions from a good heart that are amazing. We ask questions from a broken heart that's wicked, that sometimes tricks us. Our questions aren't always as amazing as we think they are. And the bits and pieces of the questions our hearts put together, like bits and pieces of something they're putting together with super glue to make our life, sometimes are so sticky that we get ourselves stuck. Well, that's the roadblock. Or we think we're wise and we become foolish and we forget that God is there. You're going to hear your own questions that are going to be as sticky as these or more. The idea is, don't throw away what you do know because you don't know everything. Do you get that? Don't throw away what you know because you don't have all the answers. You're never going to have all the answers, but you do know there's a God. We understand why we invest in relationships with our friends, ourselves, our parents. We understand why we invest in relationships with education or work. Jesus' example is that we should be investing in our relationship with God. That's where our faith, our pistache goes. We figure out who we are. For 37 years, Wilfredo used to swim across the river and try and get into Los Angeles. And every couple of years, they would find him and they would send him back. Well, when he was in his 37th year, he finally decided to go see an immigration attorney. And the immigration attorney told him that his father actually had been born in Texas. And he was an American citizen. He wasted 37 years of his life trying to get into the country when he was already a citizen. If there is something that God has for you, don't waste your life looking for it. Take the moment, do the pistos thing, pour your life into looking for God and find it now. Don't find it out when you're 37. The ability to deceive ourselves is endless. If this house, room, building, your home were on fire, if there was no way out, if it was surrounded by flames, and if the firemen below had a net and told you to jump, you'd probably be scared. But you jump. It would be a leap of faith. Thank you. You would be literally pouring your life into the thing that you put your hope into. God is saying, I'm the net. Life is not everything you hope it is. You need to learn to pour your life into me the same way my son did, and discover that I'm your father. Discover it now before you're too old. Discover it now while you're young. Take that leap of faith. Don't let the questions that are sticky get in the way, because you're not going to ever have all the answers. But you can't forget that I'm real, because nobody has that excuse, and I've seen to it.